Hi. This morning I'd like to read a segment from my book, which is kind of the meat and bones of the book. So my book, if you're not familiar with it, is Yoga for Riders. And it teaches how to use yoga principles and postures to improve horsemanship from ground to saddle, to help you to become a more mindful equestrian. And the kind of meat and bones of this book is what I call practical parallels. So yoga is not just about doing a series of postures. There's a whole philosophy of yoga. There's other aspects of yoga, such as breath work, meditation, energy awareness. And so many things improve as we practice yoga, from our intuitive skills to learning to really listen to that inner voice, to body awareness, to energy awareness. And I always say the yoga mat is a great training ground for life and a great training ground for horsemanship. I found over the years with my own horses, much of what I was doing on the yoga mat, I was naturally, organically applying to my horsemanship without even realizing it. Because I've been immersed in a yogic lifestyle for 30 plus years, it comes very natural to me. So it's not just a practice I do on the mat, but a mindfulness that I try to bring to all areas of my life and interweave the teachings of yoga into daily life. So I want to talk to you today about the parallels. There's a chapter in my book called The Parallels. There's also a download of this on my website, cathywoodsyoga.com. So these are things that we should be doing on our yoga mat if we're practicing true yoga. I'd like you to see the parallels of what I'm going to read and how they not only apply to yoga, but could also very easily and naturally apply to horsemanship. The first parallel is present moment awareness. And that's something we practice on the mat. Life happens in the now. In fact, my guru says multitasking is actually practicing conflict. So on the mat, we practice being in the present moment, being with the breath, the bodily sensations. We catch our mind if it wanders and we bring it back to the breath. In horsemanship, being in the present moment has so much value. Not only is it a safety issue to be fully present when working with horses, but it also helps you to fully experience and enjoy the moments and be present to what you're doing and more mindful, and helps you to stay harnessed in the here and now. So present moment awareness on the mat and in the saddle, or even on the ground with your horse. Again, I've already kind of tapped into this next one, a training ground for life. Yoga and horsemanship are opportunities to come to know yourself better by exploring your multifaceted levels. You observe the way you process, learn, act, react, interact, think, and feel. Obviously, very helpful attributes to include in our horsemanship. Feel, reaction, observing. Third parallel, bring consciousness to everything. That's what we do on the mat. We pay attention to the body, the breathing, the energy. We journey through life being aware as yogis, conscious and deliberate, experiencing all of the moments. Wouldn't that be a nice way to interact with your horse? To not be rushed or fearful or frazzled, but to actually experience the moments. And you know what? Sometimes rushed and fearful comes up, and those are moments to experience too, but to at least have the mindfulness to know that that's what you're experiencing, and hopefully through yoga have tools to maybe shift that to a more balanced place. On the mat, we breathe through challenges. If you get into a challenging yoga posture, the instructor is going to say, breathe through it, breathe into those tight areas. So breathe through challenges. Move with the breath, not against it. Use breath as a tool anytime you feel challenged or unfocused. So if you dig a little deeper, you'll notice these parallels don't only apply to horsemanship, but to life. So perhaps you're feeling challenged or unfocused elsewhere in your life. Maybe you're sitting in a traffic jam and you're feeling yourself becoming stressed or feeling unfocused when you're trying to complete a task. You can use very simple, deep, mindful breathing techniques to help bring you back to focus. So that's what we do on the mat, and we can use the breath in our horsemanship as well. Anytime we're feeling any negative emotions arise, we can help simmer those down by use of deep mindful breathing. And I do give instruction in the book about some basic breath work patterns that you can use on your mat and with your horse and anywhere in your life. Number 5, parallel. Go beyond the mind. You can often do more than the mind thinks you can. Sometimes mind is our most limiting instrument. It says, I can't do that. And I have people in yoga class say, I can't do that pose, or I can't hold this pose any longer. And when I give them usually a modified version of it and really tell them to listen to the inner voice and go as deeply or gently as they need to, they find that they actually can do it to some degree. So it's the same thing with our horsemanship. A lot of times our mind limits what we can do, and then that also translates to limiting our horse's mind, because energetically we all are interconnected. So if your mind is saying, I can't do this, this is too hard, this is too scary, your horse is going to pick up on that and act accordingly. Number 6, energy shifts. It's one of my favorites. Notice when energy shifts and changes within yourself, your horse, or your surroundings. So you may be feeling calm and centered one moment, and then something pushes your buttons and triggers something, and you start to feel a little bit of anxiety arise. Notice that. Again, use some of these tools to help offset that, or to at least be aware of what energy is shifting and how to adapt accordingly. Energy might be shifting with your horse. Perhaps you're in the ring or on a trail and another horse is getting too close. And before you even visually see that, if you pick up on your horse's energy, you may see his ears pinned back, a swish of a tail, body tensing up a little. Maybe he's kind of looking back over his shoulder a bit. So being aware of when energy shifts and adapting accordingly is a really good life skill. Move with grace. Another one of my favorites. Bring as much grace as possible into a yoga posture, horsemanship, or any other situation, even when it feels difficult. So the yogi on the mat, again, may get into a challenging posture. And what we try to do in that challenging moment is to bring as much grace to that situation, to that posture as possible, even when it feels challenging. And I invite you to do that with your horsemanship too. Even if you're feeling a little challenged or a little clunky, try to hone in on your energy and bring in as much grace to that situation as possible in that moment. Accept is the next one. Work from where you are on the mat and with your horsemanship, holding a generous attitude of acceptance. So think about it. You can only work from where you are, so you might as well accept it. Doesn't mean you don't set goals to achieve other accomplishments. You move toward those goals, but you hold a gracious and spacious attitude of accepting of where you are in your yoga practice, where you are in your horsemanship, where you are in your life, and you move toward those goals with an accepting attitude toward yourself. Number 9, stay balanced. Maintain equanimity in all areas of life, not just physical, but balancing the inner and outer. So in yoga postures, we do balance poses such as tree and dancer. And I always tell my students that when the inner is balanced, the outer is balanced. When the outer is balanced, the inner is balanced. So you can actually use your physical balance as a gentle gauge to see how balanced you are in your life. So there's physical balance that we all experience. Some people are more balanced naturally than others. But we also sometimes get out of balance in our lives. Maybe we're spending too much time on TV or social media. Maybe we're spending too much time in our minds and not in our bodies. Maybe we're spending too much time in our bodies and not nurturing our minds. So learning to stay balanced in all that you do is key in yoga, but it's key in horsemanship, inner and outer balance. Obviously, the physical balance comes into great play when you're riding, of knowing where your center is, riding symmetrically in a balanced manner. Number 10, slow down. So in the style of yoga that I teach, it's not fast, it's not quick. We're not trying to get to any end game. We're just slowing down. So much of life is on the fast-paced treadmill, so why not use your mat time as an opportunity to slow down? Don't exhaust yourself by staying on the fast-paced treadmill of life. Slow down through yoga, and when working with or around your equine friends, they will appreciate it. Slowing down not only helps us to experience the moments more, helps us to make better choices, to be more safe when we are with our equine friends. So just slowing down a little bit in life in general. Number 11, this may sound like a no-brainer, but it's not always. Know where you are in space and time. Be aware of where the body is in space and time, physically and tangibly, where your body placement is on the mat, and when you're around horses. Notice positioning, body sensations, alignment, distance, spacing, orientation. Sometimes we just act on autopilot and we're not mindful of where we are in space and time. So the yoga mat, again, is a wonderful platform to be very mindful of where the body is in space and time, orientation, balance, alignment, and that also translates to being a better equestrian and a safer equestrian as well. We're almost done. Number 12, drop expectations. Release the energy spent on expectations of yourself, others, or life in general. Free up energy for better use. Experience what unfolds. So many times we go into a situation with expectations, and it's not so much the expectations that get us into trouble, but the attachment to them. For example, say you have a wonderful, rich, deep meditation on your mat, on your meditation cushion, or you have a really great yoga experience or yoga class, and then you come back to the mat the next day and you're expecting the experience to be the same way, and it's not, because so many different things factor in. How much rest you've gotten, what's going on in your life, perhaps what you've eaten, time of day. So one of the intentions I set at the beginning of my retreats with the participants is to drop any expectations of what you think this experience is going to be like, and simply open yourself up to what unfolds for you. Same with our horsemanship. We may have a great training session and we get back in the saddle the next day and the experience isn't quite the same. And then we were attached to that expectation. When we didn't meet it, we get disappointed, we feel frustrated. So just encounter each moment, each day as it is for what it is without setting those expectations too high. Again, good to have goals, but don't set the bar too high, and know that each day is going to be different. Work from where you are. Observe the mind chatter. Wow, this is a good one. Does your mind ever feel like a freight train of thoughts, one after the next, after the next? Be an observer of the mind chatter. But no, you don't always have to buy into it. Listen to your inner voice and discern what is pertinent. And that is also one of the advantages about becoming a self-aware individual. And that's what yoga and meditation help us do, to become more self-aware individuals on the mat and off the mat. So in meditation, we do a simple practice of breathing, observing when a thought comes in and you're no longer focused on the breath, and you come back to the breath and you stay with it, you stay focused on it, and another thought trickles in and you notice it. So becoming more mindful of the mind, and I like to say, thank the mind for its many opinions and come on back to the breath. So we don't always have to get caught up in that freight train of thoughts. We can create space between our thoughts through meditation. Also, being in the mind a lot can really be an energy drain. So taking those breaks of not getting into excessive mind chatter is really a lesson in energy conservation as well. The last one, experience and celebrate. Stop and experience sensations, the release and energy after a yoga stretch. Stop and experience and celebrate after an accomplishment with your horse. So how many times have you done a yoga posture and you're already thinking about what's next by the time you're even completely done with that posture? I like to do a stretch, simple movement, and then stop after with a pause and tell people to experience the second half of the posture, the movement of energy, the release of tensions and tightness. Celebrate that. Celebrate your energy, your aliveness. Same thing in your horsemanship. Perhaps you accomplished something you've been really working on and you want to do it again and again and again. But I invite you to stop and celebrate that moment. Take a few deep breaths. Notice what you just did, what you just accomplished, and then proceed. So those are just some of the practical parallels of yoga and horsemanship. The two practices, the two areas are not so different from each other. So I hope that you glean some tidbits of information about the parallels. Again, I have a downloadable version of these on cathywoodsyoga.com. So you can print them off. You can put them in your yoga space or perhaps in your barn, or maybe you even share them with your writing group and you guys practice these together. So anyway, I hope that my book helps to enrich your life and your horsemanship and infuse it with yogic mindfulness and awareness. Happy trails. Namaste.